right at this exact moment, you're swimming in a sea of invisible decaying energy.
Yeah, literally right now.
Right. You are being bombarded from space, the ground beneath your feet is fundamentally radioactive, and you have highly evolved cellular mechanisms actively repairing your DNA as we speak.
Which is, I mean, it's wild to even think about.
It really is. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are pulling from an international labor organization, Occupational Health and Safety Manual specifically. It's their code of practice document.
Right, which sounds a bit dry, but...
Oh, totally. But we are going to use it to completely change the way you look at the invisible world of ionizing radiation.
Yeah, because it's a dense, highly technical framework. It's meant to keep workers safe in extreme environments.
Right.
But our mission today isn't to just, read a compliance document to you. It's to really understand the core principles of how radiation actually functions in the physical world.
Because when most people hear the word radiation, the immediate mental image is like a catastrophic nuclear meltdown.
Or some glowing green substance from a comic book.
Exactly. So our goal today is to basically replace that baseline of fear with informed respect.
Absolutely. Informed respect.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because if we want to build that informed respect, we have to start with where this energy is actually coming from.
Right.
And the irony is, while humans are generally terrified of artificial radiation, things like nuclear power stations or medical x-rays.
The big scary stuff.
Right, the big scary stuff. But the absolute biggest source of radiation in your life isn't a high-tech laboratory. It is the literal ground beneath your feet. I mean, we live on a giant radioactive rock.
We do. The Earth itself is fundamentally radioactive. And to understand why, we really have to define what ionizing radiation is at a mechanical level.
Yeah, honest.
Very simply, it is the energy violently ejected by unstable substances as they try to reach a stable state.
Okay.
This is what we call spontaneous radioactive decay. And these unstable substances, these naturally occurring radionuclides, they're just baked into the crust of the Earth.
Okay, everywhere.
Everywhere. They're in the rocks, the soil, the groundwater.
So we're talking about heavy elements like uranium-238, right?
Exactly.
I was actually trying to picture how to think about this natural decay process. And I thought, is it sort of like an incredibly old, crumbling brick building?
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Like it's just sitting there, slowly shedding pieces of itself, brick by brick, atom by atom, over billions of years.
That's a highly functional way to visualize it, yeah. These atoms are under immense internal stress, right? Yeah. And they relieve that stress by shedding pieces of themselves.
Right.
And what's fascinating here is that because human biology evolved on this, crumbling brick building, we are constantly exposed to these falling pieces.
We can't escape it.
No, we call this natural background radiation. Add in the constant bombardment of cosmic rays from deep space, and you realize that complete isolation from radiation it doesn't exist in nature.
Right. And because we're exposed to it all the time, our bodies must have adapted.
Oh, significantly.
We aren't just helplessly absorbing it. We've developed highly efficient cellular repair mechanisms to deal with this constant low-level friction.
Precisely. And scientifically, that is a crucial baseline.
How so?
Well, knowing how much natural background radiation the human body routinely repairs without any issue, it helps health physicists calculate what kind of occupational doses might be tolerable.
Oh, like for a technician at a nuclear power station working with, say, fissile uranium-235.
Exactly. It gives us a baseline for what is actually safe.
Which means we need to understand exactly how these atoms are crumbling. And, maybe more importantly, how we measure the impact of those pieces hitting us.
Right, the mechanics of it.
Yeah. If we skip the high school textbook definitions and just look at the mechanics, we're really talking about isotopic instability. You have an element, and its identity is locked in by its protons.
Right.
Like hydrogen is hydrogen because it has one proton.
Exactly. But the number of neutrons in the nucleus can vary. And when it varies, you get an isotope or a nuclide. Sometimes that specific combination of protons and neutrons works out fine.
It's stable?
Right. But other times, it creates a structural imbalance. The nucleus simply cannot hold itself together.
Oh, I see.
Take tritium, for example. It's essentially just hydrogen that picked up 2 extra neutrons.
Okay.
That makes it unstable, meaning it's radioactive. It literally has to decay to find stability.
And that decay isn't instant.
Right?
But we talk about half-life, which is the time it takes for half of a given amount of an unstable element to fall apart.
Right.
And the timelines are staggering. I read that uranium-238 takes roughly 4.5 billion years for just half of it to decay.
Yeah, it's geological time. It's almost unfathomable. But when it does decay, it doesn't just vanish.
Right.
It ejects mass and energy, and in doing so, it actually transforms into a completely different element.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Uranium-238 emits radiation and becomes thorium-234.
Oh, wow.
But thorium is also unstable, so it quickly decays into protactinium-234.
Just keeps going.
It does. This kicks off a massive 14-step decay chain. It just keeps shedding energy, step after step, cascading down the periodic table until it finally reaches a stable state as lead-206.
14 distinct steps of just firing off energy.
Exactly.
So how do we actually quantify that energy hitting a person? Because in the occupational safety world, there's this classic shotgun analogy from the source material used to explain the different units of measurement.
Right, which usually sound like pure gibberish to anyone outside the industry.
Totally. Becquerels, Grays, Sieverts.
The terminology is dense, so the shotgun concept is a brilliant way to anchor the physics.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you're standing in front of a wall of shotguns, and they are all firing randomly.
Okay. Terrifying, but I'm with you.
Right, so the first unit of measurement is activity, measured in becquerels. This has nothing to do with you, it just measures how fast the guns are firing.
Oh, yep.
1 becquerel is 1 decay event per second. The higher the becquerel, the more guns going off.
Right, but just because a gun fires doesn't mean you get hit. So that brings in the second measurement, absorbed dose, which is measured in grays. This measures how much of that energy actually strikes your physical mass. Like how many of those lead pellets actually hit your body.
Precisely. But then we have to account for the physics of the pellets themselves, because not all radiation is identical.
Right.
Some particles are massive and cause blunt force trauma. Others are like tiny piercing needles.
Okay.
That's where we get the equivalent dose, measured in sieverts. It takes the absorbed dose and multiplies it by a weighting factor based on the specific type of radiation.
So it accounts for the size of the pellet, basically.
Exactly.
And finally, you have the effective dose, which is also measured in sieverts. And this measures the whole body damage.
Right.
Because if we stick with the analogy, taking a shotgun pellet to your finger is terrible, but taking that exact same pellet to your vital organs is lethal. So the effective dose accounts for the biological sensitivity of the specific tissue being hit.
You got it perfectly.
But wait, I'm thinking through this analogy, and it works perfectly if you were standing in front of the wall of shotguns.
Sure.
But if we're dealing with radioactive dust or a gas, doesn't the analogy break down entirely?
How do you mean?
I mean, it's less like standing in front of a gun and more like inhaling the gunpowder and the pellets directly into your lungs. Your external armor doesn't matter anymore.
Oh, that is exactly the pivot point we need to make.
Yeah.
The physics of the hazard completely invert depending on where the source is located. This is arguably the most critical concept in all of radiation protection.
The difference between outside and inside.
Yes, the fundamental difference between external exposure and internal exposure. To understand why inhaling the source is a nightmare, we really have to look at the mechanics of the particles themselves.
Right, the shield versus the sponge.
Exactly. Let's look at alpha particles first.
Okay.
Alpha particles are, well, they're massive on an atomic scale. They are made of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, and they carry a positive charge.
Big and heavy.
Right. And because they're so big and highly charged, they are incredibly clumsy. They literally bump into everything they pass, interacting with other atoms and instantly dumping all their energy.
Just immediately crashing.
Yeah. So because of this, their penetration power is almost 0. They can be stopped by a few centimeters of air, a single sheet of paper, or just the dead layer of skin cells on the outside of your body.
So as an external hazard, alpha particles are basically harmless. They just bounce off your dead skin.
Respectively, yes.
But if you swallow an alpha emitter or breathe in alpha-emitting dust, then the threat level becomes catastrophic.
Wow.
Because inside your body, there is no dead skin armor. Those massive, clumsy particles are now directly in contact with delicate internal epithelial tissues.
Like the living lining of your lungs.
Or your gastrointestinal tract, yeah. They dump all that violent energy point blank into your living cells.
Yikes. Okay, so what about beta particles?
Beta particles are much smaller. They are essentially high-speed electrons. They carry a negative charge and have very little mass.
Because they're smaller, they can slip past atoms a bit easier. They have medium penetration. They'll travel further through the air, and they will penetrate dead skin and enter living tissue.
But they can still be stopped.
Yes, by relatively thin shielding, like a sheet of aluminum or brass.
Okay, and then you have the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Neutrons, X-rays, and gamma rays.
Right. Gamma rays and X-rays are fundamentally different from alpha and beta.
How so?
They aren't physical chunks of matter. They are pure energy. Massless, chargeless photons.
Yes, pure energy.
Yes. Because they have no mass and no charge, they just ghost right through the empty space inside atoms.
Wow.
Their penetration power is massive. They'll pass straight through the human body and travel for kilometers through the air.
So how do you stop them?
You have to put so much dense matter in their way like thick lead, concrete, or deep water that they eventually collide with something.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
Smoke detectors. Almost everyone has one hanging in their bedroom. And the source material mentions they use an isotope called americium-241,
They do.
which is a pure alpha emitter.
Yes, it is.
Knowing what we just established, that alpha particles are an absolute nightmare if they get inside your delicate lung tissue, why on earth do we manufacture these and hang them over our beds?
It's a great question. It comes down to a vital engineering concept called a sealed source.
A sealed source.
Right. The americium inside your smoke detector isn't loose powder. It is securely encapsulated inside a metal foil casing.
Oh, I see.
Because alpha particles can't penetrate metal or even travel more than an inch in the air, the radiation is entirely trapped inside the plastic housing of the detector. As long as it sits there, it is perfectly safe.
But if someone were to, I don't know, take a hammer to that smoke detector, smash it open, light it on fire, and then breathe in the toxic smoke.
Then you've breached the capsule. You've
Mhm.
turned a contained external non-issue into an unshielded internal hazard. The physical form of the material dictates the danger?
That makes so much sense. Like, a solid block of uranium is mostly an external contact hazard.
Exactly.
But radon-222, which is a natural byproduct of uranium decaying in the earth, is a gas.
Right, you don't touch it, you inhale it. That
Yeah.
completely changes the safety protocols.
Okay, so we've covered the physics of how radiation travels and enters the body. Now we need to zoom all the way in and look at the actual biological battlefield.
The cellular level.
Yeah. When those microscopic shotgun pellets actually strike living tissue, what is physically happening and how does the body fight back?
Well, to understand the damage, we have to look at the chemistry of a cell. When ionizing radiation penetrates a cell, it does exactly what the name implies. It ionizes.
It creates ions.
Right, it literally knocks electrons out of their orbits in the atoms that make up the cell.
Okay.
And when you knock electrons away, you violently break chemical bonds. And the most critical chemical bonds in any cell are the ones holding together the double helix of your DNA.
So the radiation is physically shredding the genetic instruction manual inside the nucleus of the cell.
Yes, it is literally breaking the strands. And the body has a highly evolved triage system for this. First, it attempts to repair the broken DNA strand.
Does it work?
Often, it succeeds perfectly.
Okay, good.
If the damage is too severe, the cell triggers a self-destruct sequence called apoptosis.
It kills itself.
Exactly, it kills itself to protect the whole organism. But the third outcome is the dangerous one.
What happens?
The cell fails to repair the DNA accurately, but it doesn't die. It survives with a corrupted instruction manual.
It mutates.
Exactly, it mutates.
And this leads to how the safety frameworks classify radiation sickness. You have it effects and you have chronic effects.
Right.
Acute effects, the non-stochastic effects, as the manual calls them, are what happen when you get hit by a massive dose all at once. The exposure crosses a specific threshold and the biology just collapses.
Think of the immediate aftermath of the 1986 Chernobyl disaster.
Oh, yeah.
The text notes that dozens of responders died of acute radiation syndrome within weeks, some within days.
It's horrifying.
In those cases, the massive dose of radiation shredded the DNA across millions of cells simultaneously.
The apoptosis system is just overwhelmed.
Completely overwhelmed, and you get massive immediate cell death across the entire body. The intestinal lining slips off, the immune system vanishes, the bone marrow fails. It's a rapid, predictable cascade of organ failure.
It's brutal. But then there are the chronic or stochastic effects. This is the insidious low-dose exposure.
Yeah.
And the terrifying part about chronic effects is that there is no known safe threshold.
None.
Even a tiny dose carries a statistical risk.
Because with chronic exposure, we are dealing with those mutated cells.
The ones that didn't die.
Exactly. The dose wasn't high enough to cause mass cell death, but it flipped the wrong genetic switch. If that mutated cell starts dividing uncontrollably, you have a tumor.
You have cancer.
Yes. And if that mutation happens in your germline cells, your reproductive cells, that corrupted DNA can be passed down, causing genetic defects in future generations.
It's almost like your cellular defense system is playing an endless microscopic game of whack-a-mole.
That's a great analogy.
Your body is constantly patrolling for these mutated cells, the moles, and destroying them before they can divide and become a tumor.
That is exactly what your immune system is doing. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains why ionizing radiation is such a uniquely dangerous hazard.
Because it creates more moles.
Well, yes, but it doesn't just pop up a mole for your immune system to whack. The radiation can actually sever the specific chemical bonds in the genes responsible for the body's repair mechanism itself.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's like breaking the whack-a-mole mallet.
Oh, wow.
The mutated cell goes out of control, and the biological safety system that was supposed to recognize and stop it has been blinded.
So knowing all of this, the fact that gamma rays can ghost through solid matter, the fact that inhaling a microscopic speck of alpha dust can cause severe internal mutations, and the fact that it actively breaks our cellular repair tools, how does humanity actually harness this?
Carefully. Very carefully.
Right. I mean, how do we safely operate medical X-ray labs or nuclear submarines or industrial imaging sites? We obviously can't negotiate with the physics.
No, we have to out-engineer it.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, that engineering relies on a strict, uncompromising hierarchy of controls. For external radiation hazards, the occupational framework relies entirely on the big three:
The big three.
time, distance, and shielding.
Time is straightforward enough. Minimize your exposure time, minimize your dose.
Right.
But distance is incredibly powerful because of the inverse square law. It's not a linear relationship.
Yeah.
If you take 2 steps back from a radioactive source, your exposure doesn't just cut in half.
Right, because, the radiation is spreading out spherically in all directions.
Like a balloon expanding.
Exactly. If you double your distance from the source, the energy is spread over 4 times the area, your exposure drops to a quarter.
Oh, wow.
If you triple the distance, it drops to a ninth.
Yeah.
Distance is mathematically your greatest shield.
If you've ever wondered why the dental hygienist throws that heavy lead apron over your chest, points the X-ray machine at your jaw, and then literally runs out of the room and stands behind a wall to press the button, this is exactly why.
Yes.
They are maximizing their distance and leveraging heavy physical shielding to ensure their chronic, daily occupational exposure stays at absolute zero.
Exactly. But internal control protecting workers from inhaling or swallowing those isotopes, that requires a completely different engineering approach.
Right, because you can't put a lead apron on your internal organs.
Precisely. So the focus shifts to obsessive containment.
The safety manuals describe these intense laboratory setups. Ventilated glove boxes, completely smooth, non-absorbent surfaces, so not a single microscopic speck of radioactive dust can settle in a crack.
Everything has to be pristine.
And the ventilation systems use negative pressure. I was picturing it like a submarine in reverse.
A reverse submarine.
Yeah, instead of building a pressurized hull to keep the heavy ocean from crushing in, a negative pressure radiation lab is designed so the airflow constantly pulls inward. If there's a leak in the seal, or a worker tears their heavy rubber glove, the invisible hazard is sucked aggressively back inside the containment box, rather than drifting out into the breathing air of the room.
That reverse submarine concept perfectly illustrates the core philosophy of occupational radiation safety.
Really?
Yeah. The framework mandates that engineering controls, like those negative pressure vacuums and structural concrete shields, must always be the first line of defense.
Before PPE.
Way before.
Yeah.
You build the safety into the architecture of the room itself, long before you rely on a worker following a rule or wearing a respirator. You design a safe place because relying entirely on safe people eventually leads to human error.
And when human error isn't an option, the workplace regulations come down hard.
Oh, extremely hard.
The ILO guidelines cap the maximum effective dose for an adult worker at 50 millisieverts per year. And even then, specific national regulations go much further. Like in the UK, their IRR 2017 regulations cut that limit down to just 20 millisieverts a year.
And if a worker's environment suggests they might even approach those limits, a massive administrative apparatus kicks in.
Like what?
They're designated as classified workers. This triggers mandatory ongoing health surveillance by specialized medical professionals. Every single microscopic source of radiation in the facility must be accounted for by designated radiation protection officers.
And we actually apply this same engineering mindset to the natural world, too.
We do.
We talked about radon gas earlier, that invisible natural byproduct of uranium that seeps up from the dirt.
Right, the internal hazard.
That's why modern homes and buildings in high radon areas are specifically engineered with subslab pumps and proofing membranes.
Yeah, we literally install permanent ventilation systems in our basements just to aggressively route that naturally occurring gas out from under the foundation.
And vent it into the open air before we can breathe it in.
It's a stark reminder that radiation protection isn't just about managing artificial technology. It requires proactive engineering against the natural environment itself.
So what does this all mean? If you are listening to this, you've just taken a massive journey through an invisible microscopic spectrum.
There's a lot to take in.
It is. You now know that we are bathed in a constant low-level sea of natural radiation. You understand the critical mechanical difference between taking an external X-ray and the terrifying internal threat of breathing in radioactive dust.
The shield versus the sponge.
Exactly. And you know exactly why time, distance, and heavy architectural shielding are the greatest tools humanity has to safely harness this incredible volatile energy.
It is a profound amount of physics and biology intersecting at once. But I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Okay, let's hear it.
One that builds on the very first thing we discussed. We noted that over millions of years, human biology evolved highly efficient mechanisms to repair the low-level DNA damage caused by the natural background radiation of the Earth and space.
Right, the cellular whack-a-mole system.
Exactly. But this raises a fascinating biological question. If our cellular repair systems evolved specifically to fight this constant low-level radioactive friction, what would actually happen to human biology if we were placed in a completely 100% radiation-free environment?
Oh, interesting.
Say, deep underground, in a perfectly shielded vault, cut off from all cosmic rays and terrestrial decay. Would we thrive? Or does our cellular whack-a-mole system actually need that constant background radiation just to stay sharp and function properly?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought.
Right.
Are our bodies biologically dependent on the exact same energy we spend so much time engineering shields against?
Yeah.
That is definitely something to chew on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
Stay insanely curious, keep asking questions, and we will catch you next time.